exciting Mercedes, maybe not the fastest Mercedes, but certainly a beautiful one. Today's car is the 190 SL. You know, the 190 SL is a cute little car, but that is kind of where it stops for me. Tremendously expensive to restore, and the paint they have $250,000 for an SL today. You know, they're kind of over the board. I mean, it's everything with these cars. Just you know, I don't want to be too far on the 190 SL because it is a Mercedes. It is from the 50s. It checks a lot of boxes. It has a lot of money for it. It's just when I drove one. The only adjective I can think of is it was emaciated. It couldn't get out of its own way, and I had actually more fun driving my, John Deere riding mower. So I would say, the average person who wants to buy a 190 SL is not necessarily someone who's not sophisticated. It's not necessarily someone who doesn't understand what they're doing or hasn't done their homework.
Now, speaking of restored cars, what do we have underneath this cover here?
This is a 190 SL we're currently marketing for a client. The issue is 300 SL today, in today's market, is $1.5 to $2 million and continues to appreciate.
Absolutely.
So we're very fortunate, the large majority of people, to be able to have an affordable classic that's tied to such a beautiful car. The prices of the 300 or 190 SL continue to appreciate and continue to be pulled by the 300 SL market.
Absolutely.
And that's the basis of it. I believe clearly that Mercedes as a company recognizes that. They have strong interest in heritage. They have classic centers, one in Fellbach and one in Irvine, California. Fellbach is a suburb of Stuttgart that's, as a profit center, is focused on keeping this, quote, brand alive, and the other various 50s Mercedes as well. Well, you asked about the history of the 190 SL. I'll give you a brief thumbnail sketch.
Okay.
This is a picture of the prototype.
Okay.
The prototype was introduced in February of 1954. February 11th, New York Armory, 7th Street, Regiment Armory, located and still is today at the corner of Park and 66th Street in downtown New York City. And the 300 SL Roadster, you see here, it's kind of difficult, it's a small picture, but the 300 SL Roadster, or GULLWING, I should say, not the Roadster. Roadster wasn't introduced until 57. And the 190 SL plus the 220 were displayed here at the Herb Schreiner New York Auto Show. And Max Hoffman, the importer for domestic or foreign cars in the United States, wanted to market this car along with the 300. And he wanted to get a pulse, and more importantly, the factory wanted to get a pulse of the marketplace to see if they wanted to invest in full-scale production. So in February of '54 it was introduced. It was reviewed with rave reviews, great applause, heavily accepted. In fact, Hoffman took an order of 1,000 of these on that very day. Given that success, it was shipped back to Stuttgart, to Zingelfingen, and was disassembled and was prepared for general production in the assembly line. I have a picture over here of the assembly line, and that reflects the first 190 SL in March delivered of '55. So it was some 14 months later before the car became the production. And you'll notice with the final 190 SL, as compared to the prototype, it's very different. Here the hood went all the way down and was integrated into the grille. The bumpers were one solid piece. The doors were squared off. The hood was scooped. This was the racing version because they foresaw this to be used for both road racing, which was very popular back in the '50s with the military people coming back from the war. And there were other cars like MGs, etc., that were doing road racing. They thought this would have a place, but it really didn't because it was underpowered and couldn't compete. The rear clip was off the 180, gas fuel tank off to the side. So it was a very different car, but still had the common look, no eyebrows on the rear. And I can tell you from firsthand experience why they made a lot of these changes, because we had the opportunity 8 years ago to build the reproduction of this. It's called the recreation of the 190 SL prototype. There's an extensive article there in the Star magazine called Recreating the 190 SL Exhibition Car. I call it a prototype. The factory called it an exhibition car. And this kinds of manufacturing was very, very difficult. The hood was not stable. You really needed a cross piece back up here. For replacement of accidents, you needed a multi-piece bumper, which we have today. They got rid of the rear clip, etc. The door was shaped differently. So the production car is different from the exhibition car, and I think the improvements make for a better car, although I have to think this particular car is just gorgeous. It no longer exists. When it went back to Zingelfingen and to Stuttgart, the car was dismantled to help the production process, and so it never came to light. We spent 10,000 hours reproducing this for a client, and the 10,000 hours is a rough estimate, and is now located in Canada. And we did our work for pictures. Went to the archives in Germany, and they accommodated that, and we were given detailed pictures, and we were able then to reproduce it as best we possibly could.
That's excellent. That's excellent. In terms of the four-cylinder engine, was it the same powertrain? Did they do anything with that?
That car never ran.
Okay.
They didn't have the Solexes completed at the time, so they were wood. They carved them out of wood for the exhibition. It was a non-running car. But basically, they used the same motor. That motor came out of the 180. It's the M181, and it was the same basic four-cylinder, 110 horsepower, three-main bearing motor.
Excellent.
And the same transmission again that was in the 180. standard here is the factory. If the factory did it, that's what we do. If somebody wants something else, you'll see people come in here and they'll want to chrome the valve cover, chrome the airlock. And I just say, well, no. If you want to do that, you can do that after the car's done. That's not what the factory did.
You see the factory numbers 68603 and
Yeah, those are archive picture numbers, so you can go into the archive.
And there's some pictures.
Yeah. Now, you can step down here, I don't know if that'll show, but also historically, since we're talking about history, this car was originally raced in the 55 and then the 56 Macau Grand Prix, and the driver was Doug Steen, and the owner owned a dealership, Sulky, in Hong Kong, and he commissioned to have this car run in Macau, which of course is Portuguese enclave, was outside of Hong Kong. And he actually finished, I think, in the top 3 in 55, but he won in 56. So in 1956, he actually won the race. Well, you see a Ferrari there, you see Austin Healey, various cars of that class that had to run it in some earlier class. That's a Ferrari Mondeo right there next to it. Actually, the Mondeo didn't second. Was a fighter pilot in the British Air Force. He was picked up by Sulky just to race that race. He had no car racing experience to speak of. I mean, he drove cars, but he was stationed there because Hong Kong was British territory owned by the Chinese, but being leased. And I have a picture down here. I'll show you. Yeah, it says to Bruce, best wishes, Doug Steen. I also have a signed copy of the prototype, and at the time the prototype being tested by Gunther Berluli in Germany was taken on the road to outside of Stuttgart. We pick up some of this stuff like the signed copy from Jay Leno just simply through our travels, etc. Jay Leno says, "Let's go racing, Bruce." And he's there with his, God knows what that is. And this is the factory assembly line that I talked about. Notice how they install the front sub-assembly and the rear axle and the prop shaft. They do it all at one time, and they lift it up and prop it into position in that fashion. It was made for the 300s and some of the more expensive models. And we took the original logo and we put Type 121, which is 190. We build this here out of oak. And then we put about $2,000 worth of 190 SL original parts. So we populate it. For example, in here you put your bulbs, various hoses and clamps, 4 holes for spark plugs, thermostat, and then this comes up, and down there you put your gaskets. So you lay all your gaskets there, all the other parts that you think you would need here, nice little separate spare parts box, if you will.
Hey, my name is Ricardo Sanchez. I'm the head manager of BL Adams and plus the painter. Sikkens. Sikkens is a German brand that I choose to use on the 190s. It's a little expensive, but it's top of the line, and we give top of the line to our customers. It's a brand that is compared to PVG, DuPont. It mixed 2 to 1. It actually is a little thicker, but it covers faster than other materials. and it gives us a chance to mix all paint to the Mercedes standard. For example, we got DB534 that I got the original chip from Mercedes, and I mix my own. When I do that in the computer, the computer can only go to 1970 chips, so you have to kind of tweak the color to a way that you can match it to the Mercedes. And this is a good example. Metallics are a little harder to do, like 172, because most people use thicker metallics, and when we do those colors, I choose the fine metallic. It will be like this one, and I can regulate the metallics in it. How it works, you go in the computer, you search the color for the Mercedes, like DB534, and it would not give you the color in it. Like 534 would give you red, orange, white, and you can, everything is mixed in grams, so you can deduct 10 grams of white to make it more closer to the Mercedes. And I create my own formulas, and they were staying in my computer in my own personal file. I really recommend their clears. The clears are hot solid, crystal clears. It's thicker, and I painted with 1.4 Sodagun 5000. That for me is like one of the best ones in the market. So I tried, and it's German too. So you got German paint and German guns. So you're working on a German car, so it's like perfect. So I really tell everybody to use Sickens, good product. Use it from epoxy to their primers to everything. Don't try to mix materials like DuPont with Sherwin-Williams. Try to use one brand, and you will see the results by the end of your restoration. Thank you.